seems like the excess spending by central banks was just because the system without like massive influxes of cash was just going to fall to bits. And it's like, you can keep laying the tracks in front of the train, but you can't go any faster than the train to like, make a nice track in front of you. So they're just like frantically like firing the tracks in front of the train, like printing money
Yes.
and continuing to go until eventually it's just going to come crashing off when they just stop, which is what we see every time they like taper it off, and like the markets go insane. Then they're like, okay, it's okay, we'll calm down, we'll calm down. Then they're like, okay, taper back, like, and then like, yeah, everything hits the fan. They're like, oh no,
And
wait.
we have to get more educated. Like the central bankers meet every 2 months apparently. And so we can read their minutes. We could go to their meetings if they allow the public. We could get journalists in there. Like a lot of it is up to us as well. We can't expect, you have to participate. And especially when it's something to do with that affects you on a day-to-day basis, like the expenditure of money and stuff like that. So I'm always grateful for what this whole COVID thing has been, because the major silver lining, I think, is it's forced a lot of people to be more proactive in all aspects of their lives. We were just sitting back watching Netflix and running our credit cards up. Well, those days are over, right?
Mm, yeah, sadly. Um, so, yeah. No, I wouldn't wish to go back. I know people do, like, half jokingly and half seriously. And it's just like, no, 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 no. Got way
Yeah, I
too.
mean, to have the harm that came again, like my family lost everything. We were thrown out of a house we were renting because we couldn't pay the rent and we didn't have food in the fridge. And I was arrested twice and stuff. Like, there's no way I'm going to cut the corners on being educated. The pieces though we can't figure out are things like, what's the new pay system? How do we've got all this plastic in our wallets, we've got money in the bank, we've got employment, right? It's our labor and our cash flow from our employment. How do we harness that and take it back? With the little time that we have during the week when we've got free time to go, and what we're just going to like alter the banking systems ourselves. It is very intimidating, and it's very, very out of reach for the average person. But one day at a time, we'll get there.
Do you see there being a way to escape this doom, basically?
Yeah, I think so. I tell you a couple funny things. So if you were really rich, you could escape it, and that's not
I was
very
thinking about for
accessible.
everyone, all of
Yeah,
this.
well, I'm just trying to come up with a few scenarios. Also, I think if you're very poor, you can escape it, because when COVID started, all the lockdowns and the restrictions and all that, they didn't apply them to the poor people in Vancouver. And I hang out with poor people. I know where they are, and I'm in their communities working and stuff. And there was nothing. They weren't even getting them to mask. And I was like, so they're not going after the poor people. And I lived around all the rich people, and they took off to their summer homes, so their second home, so they were fine. And I was like, this whole system is going after the big middle class people. They're going after the people that are the daily churn, that are working in corporate America or corporate England, that have credit cards and pensions and jobs. That's what they're after. So the more you can remove yourself from these contracts and systems, the safer you're going to be. And when I got offered to swipe a QR code and go into a building, I was like, no, thank you. Just little things like that, right? So reviewing, you could do a complete housekeeping review of every contract you have, every commitment, every signature, every piece of ID, every digital thing you use, your phone, whatever. You could overhaul, you can kind of detox, do a tyranny detox, and try and get as far away from it as you can. But I think the most powerful tool is that people have opportunities to earn independent, dignified income, and they're not going to be forced to make choices in between their dignity and their paycheck.
Hmm.
Their freedom and their paycheck. And that's where a lot of Canadians are in a lot of trouble, because a lot of Canadians work for corporate Canada, and they're still being told, if you want a job, you have to follow the new medical rules, and they can't get out because they'll lose everything, and they're complying.
Yeah. Yeah, this is probably why the destruction of small businesses was so important, unfortunately.
Yeah, they
So,
they want the dependent state.
yeah. Yeah,
But we're going to win. We're winning. We're totally going to win, and we're going to win. And I wish I had remembered this. I saw something this morning about a fund that Larry Fink was trying to set up, right? BlackRock. So he set up some new fund, and maybe it's a climate fund. I call it the Green Grift, and it's failing, and no one's putting money into it. So that's a good thing.
Oh,
People are catching on. You could probably even find that if you Googled it. It's probably news by now.
probably. Let's have a look. Um, so what does Larry think?
Yeah, Larry Fink. So he's BlackRock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that he might have been one of these architects with Mark Carney at the central bankers meetings. I think he was very much in on the racket of, okay, why don't we just shut down the whole global economy and reset it? I think Larry Fink was probably at that table.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. And it is a small little world. Like, what is there, maybe a couple hundred of them? That's all they would really need to run all these world systems. I mean, you go onto these big websites and they're all cross over from board of directors to
Yeah.
friends to wives, whatever. It's a small group.
Yeah. You wonder how they have time to do all these jobs.
People like us who are like doing all the menial labor. Well,
Mm,
and also too, it's been building, I guess, since 1945. I think the system really has been layering and layering since Bretton Woods after the Second World War. So it's not like it's always been, John Smith running this. It's just sort of handed over, and that's the institutional imperative, I guess. Warren Buffett says that this bureaucratic sludge just keeps sort of churning all of these agendas forward. We just had a mayor change, a big mayor of Vancouver election, and the new mayor's in. And I'm like, I wonder how much of the stuff was just left on the last mayor's table that he's just going to pick up and keep doing. That isn't necessarily the interest of the people, and he's not ever going to ask us what we want. He's just going to keep doing what the old mayor said, oh, this is what we're doing now. And it's just the bureaucratic imperative. It just keeps going.
Hey everyone, thanks for making it right the way to the end of the podcast. I love that you tuned in this long. Do me a favor, hit subscribe because 80% of you bastards are not subscribing, but you're watching my videos. See you next time.